I didn't come to Roosevelt High to fall in love, came to survive a semester. That was what Emily always told herself. But on her first morning, soaked from a sudden Ohio rain, holding a cup of gas station coffee and wearing the wrong shoes for linoleum floors, she collided literally with the man who would change her entire lesson plan. Roosevelt High School was the kind of place that hadn't changed since the 90s, if it had ever changed at all. Beige lockers lined the hallways. Fluorescent lights buzzed like wasps overhead, and the scent, a blend of old textbooks, floor wax, and teenage apathy. Emily Carter, 32, walked down the main corridor with her tote bag swinging off one shoulder, already second-guessing her decision to leave Boston public schools for this small-town district outside Dayton. She'd told herself she needed a break from the city. More space, slower days. Maybe a chance to finally write that poetry book gathering dust in her laptop. But this morning, what she needed was dry socks. She rounded the corner near the teachers' lounge and slammed right into a tall figure carrying a tray of coffees. "Whoa, sorry," he said, catching her by the elbows. Emily blinked. The man was in his late 30s, maybe 40. Messy hair, rugged beard, a striped tie askew over a coffee-stained shirt. His laugh lines crinkled like pages of a well-read novel. "Is this the part where I introduce myself or offer you dry clothes?" he asked. She laughed, despite herself. "Let's go with introductions. Emily Carter, English department." "Alex Brennan," he said, offering a coffee cup that had miraculously survived the impact. History, sarcasm, and bad tie choices. By lunch, Emily had already heard the whispers. "That's Mr. Brennan, teaches AP history, bit of a rebel, they say he once told a parent, Google it during a parent-teacher conference. He runs the trivia club, total nerd." It was hard not to notice him. He cracked jokes in the hallway, gave high fives to kids who rarely smiled, and wore a vintage NASA hoodie on casual Fridays. He wasn't like the other teachers, grizzled, exhausted, counting days to retirement. Emily tried to keep things professional. But when they were both assigned cafeteria duty, things shifted. "Don't eat the spaghetti," Alex whispered, standing next to her near table 7. "It's not spaghetti. It's betrayal covered in tomato paste." She snorted into her iced tea, noted. They watched a student try to trade 3 pudding cups for a single chocolate milk. "I like your style," Alex said. "Not many new teachers survive week 1 without crying in their car." "I only cried twice," she replied. "That's called growth." It happened on a Wednesday. Emily's classroom computer froze mid-lesson. The projector bulb burned out, and a kid named Tyler decided to stage a TikTok prank that ended with him duct taping a substitute teacher to a chair. She was ready to quit, but after school, she found a note in her mailbox. "Room 305, 4 p.m., no pressure. Just pizza, poetry, and people who still believe school can be magic." Alex. That was the first time she attended what the students had dubbed Dead Poet Society 2.0. It wasn't official. It wasn't graded. But every Wednesday, students gathered to read poetry, short stories, and sometimes just vent about the world. Alex hosted it like a late-night radio show, complete with sound effects and bad Shakespeare impressions. Emily read one of her own poems that night, hands shaking, voice quiet, and Alex listened. Really listened. Winter came early to Ohio. One morning. The first snow blanketed the football field like powdered sugar. Emily watched from her window as Alex walked past the gym, wearing gloves that didn't match, and humming to himself. Later, he stopped by her classroom with hot cocoa and thermoses. And a scarf, he claimed, was magic. "What makes it magic?" she asked. "I found it in the lost and found 5 years ago, and haven't been sick since." Coincidence? I think not. They sat in silence, sipping cocoa as her students scribbled essays about Holden Caulfield's trauma. "You ever think," Alex said, "that we're not teaching kids how to succeed, just how to survive?" "All the time," Emily said. "But I still believe words can change things." He looked at her, and his eyes softened. "Me too." Roosevelt High's annual field trip to the local Civil War reenactment site was either an exercise in historical appreciation or barely contained chaos, depending on who you asked. Alex Brennan had volunteered to lead the trip for the 5th year in a row. Emily had not. I don't do buses, she said, eyeing the squeaky yellow vehicle in the lot. I brought Dramamine and granola bars, Alex said. Trust me, it's more fun than it sounds. She almost didn't go, but then a student named Jasmine tugged at her sleeve and said, Miss Carter, please come. You're the only one who explains things like they matter. Emily boarded the bus. They sat across the aisle. He offered her a butterscotch candy from the depths of his coat pocket, slightly linty but sincere, and somehow, between highway exits and six-period jokes, Emily realized how easy it was to talk to him. You ever think about leaving? She asked as farmland rushed past the windows. Sometimes, Alex said. But every time I pack a box, a kid writes something that knocks me on my ass, reminds me why I stay. At the reenactment grounds, students scattered like wind-blown leaves. Some were intrigued, some just wanted selfies with costumed actors. Holding muskets. Emily walked with Alex toward the old farmhouse exhibit. They passed a field where a group of students was watching soldiers die dramatically in slow motion. It's weird, she said. We teach them about the past so they don't repeat it. But it still feels like they're carrying so much weight. Alex nodded. Sometimes I wonder if teaching is really about history, or just helping kids make peace with their own stories. A gust of cold air blew through the trees, and instinctively he stepped closer to shield her. She didn't pull away later. As they huddled with the students around a campfire demonstration, Emily felt his hand brush hers. A spark. Then nothing, but that one moment told her everything she needed to know. By March, budget cuts were looming. The board wanted to remove all non-essential programming, including the Dead Poets Society. Sessions. Alex was furious. This isn't just about after-school clubs, he said to Emily one afternoon. It's about the only place some of these kids feel seen. Let's fight it, she said. Together, they organized a staff petition. Students wrote letters. Parents sent emails. And during the big board meeting, Emily gave a speech that left the room in stunned silence. She read a poem written by a student who had once tried to drop out but who stayed after reading Langston Hughes in her class. We don't just teach subjects, she said. We teach survival. We teach hope. Cut that, and you cut the future. Alex stood beside her, arms crossed. Proud. The board voted to keep the program outside. Under the glow of the parking lot lights, he looked at her with that soft smile she was beginning to memorize. You're incredible, he said. So are you, she replied. Their hands met. This time, they stayed together. April brought rain, cherry blossoms, and the most dreaded evening on any teacher's calendar, parent-teacher night. Alex naturally turned it into a performance. He wore a blazer with elbow patches and introduced himself with a British accent to every parent who approached. Emily tried not to laugh, but failed spectacularly. Between parent meetings, they stole time by the vending machines. I was thinking, Alex said, fidgeting with a soda can. Maybe when this is over, we could get dinner. You mean a date? Or a very serious meeting about 19th century literature and its impact on Midwestern curriculum? With wine, she smiled. Dinner sounds good. May meant one thing. Testing season. Roosevelt High turned into a military operation. Posters were covered, bells silenced, and teachers operated on caffeine, spreadsheets, and prayer. Emily, now in her second semester, had started to feel like a real part of the staff. She no longer got lost finding the faculty copier. Students brought her coffee in the mornings, and Alex, he was still Alex, steady, witty, and closer than ever. One Friday morning, before the state assessments, Emily walked into her classroom to find a small whiteboard propped on her desk. You've got this, Mr. History, and bad jokes beneath it. A donut. Sprinkles. Her favorite. She smiled, then texted, You bribing me to stay on task, Mr. Brennan. Desperate times, Ms. Carter. Desperate measures. That week, they kept each other sane. Between proctoring sessions and grading late-night essays, they traded war stories and paperbacks. On Thursday, Alex passed her a note folded like a high school crush. 1 year ago, I was thinking of quitting. Now I'm thinking of staying. Your fault. She wrote back, definitely. It wasn't all sunshine and poems. The argument came unexpectedly. It was about a student named Eli who had been skipping class and showed signs of serious depression. Emily wanted to escalate it to the district social worker. Alex thought she was overreacting. He needs stability, not another adult asking questions and vanishing in a week. No, Emily said, arms folded across her chest. He needs help, and we're not licensed therapists. Voices rose. The hallway outside her classroom emptied as students left for lunch. The walls seemed to shrink. You're too idealistic. Sometimes, Alex snapped. You're too cynical, she said. And the silence that followed hurt more than the words. They didn't speak for 2 days. Emily buried herself in grading. Alex canceled Dead Poets Club, and the students noticed. You guys okay? Jasmine asked Emily after class. Because your vibes are off. Emily realized then, their relationship, whatever it was, wasn't just about them anymore. It was a rainy Tuesday when Alex knocked on her door after final bell. He looked soaked and sheepish. You were right, he said, holding out a signed referral form from the school counselor. Eli's going to get help. Emily softened. You were right too. He does need stability, and you've been that for a lot of these kids. He sighed. I'm not great at conflict resolution. Same. A pause. Then he smiled. Can we call this a learning moment? She stepped forward. As long as there's extra credit. He leaned in hesitating, then kissed her. Quick, careful, but meaningful. The hallway was empty, except for a passing janitor who gave a thumbs up. Without breaking stride, at the end of year assembly, seniors filed onto the stage in their caps and gowns. Emily stood with the other faculty, hands clasped, pride swelling in her chest. Alex gave the closing remarks, a blend of history jokes, heartfelt wisdom, and a final quote that would live on in every yearbook. It's okay not to know exactly where you're going. Just promise yourself you'll care, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Later, in the quiet of the empty auditorium, Emily sat beside him. I've never stayed at one school more than 2 years, she said. Maybe it's time, Alex said. We build something here. Together. She looked at him. He soft, steady, and nodded, and for the first time in years, she didn't feel like she was just surviving. She felt like she was home. School let out. The classrooms emptied. Hallways echoed with memories and leftover echoes of lockers slamming shut. Alex and Emily stayed late that last Friday, cleaning their rooms, laughing over forgotten papers and ridiculous detention slips. Still want to get that dinner? He asked. You mean the one you promised in April? Better late than never. They walked out together under a golden sky. The parking lot was empty. The air smelled like honeysuckle and possibilities. I think, she said, as he opened her car door, this might be the best lesson plan I never wrote. The first Monday of summer break felt strange. No bells, no hallway noise, no cafeteria smells, just quiet. For once Emily didn't set her alarm. She woke to sunlight instead of stress, and brewed her coffee slowly. No to-go mug, no rush. Still she felt a little lost until noon, when Alex texted her a photo, a beach towel laid out on a picnic table, next to a battered copy of Whitman's Leaves of Grass. Caption, let's play hooky from summer. She smiled and replied with a simple location. An hour later, she found him at a local park near the lake. He'd packed peanut butter sandwiches, lemon LaCroix, and a small Bluetooth speaker playing a Motown playlist. She plopped down beside him and kicked off her sandals. This is your version of summer school, she asked. Only class I'm teaching this summer is how to take a damn break. 101, he said. They spent the day reading poetry, tossing a frisbee, and talking about everything except school, family, dreams, past heartbreaks, even favorite ice cream flavors. He liked Rocky Road. She liked pistachio. The sun set in orange and lavender. When they stood to leave, he took her hand. She didn't let go. Meeting Alex's parents wasn't planned. They bumped into them unexpectedly at the local farmer's market. Emily was holding a basket of peaches when a silver-haired woman approached with a grin. Alexander Brennan, she said, hands on hips. Is that a woman you're willingly grocery shopping with? This must be serious. Alex rubbed the back of his neck, sheepish. Mom, this is Emily Carter. Emily, meet my mother, the real reason I have commitment issues. His mother laughed and hugged Emily before she could react. Any woman who sticks around after a Brennan pun deserves sainthood, she whispered later, over lemonade and lavender. Cookies. Alex's data, retired shop teacher, leaned in and said, "He talks about you, you know, like you're the best chapter in his book." Emily didn't know what to say, so she just smiled and blushed. That night, Emily sat on Alex's porch, curled under a shared blanket as summer cicadas hummed around them. "I used to think I'd never settle down," she said. He turned to her, quiet. "I'd move every few years, new city, new students, new distractions. I didn't let people get close. Safer that way." Alex nodded. "I know the feeling, but with you," she continued, "it's not about settling. It's about building together." There was silence, then a warm, heavy kind. He reached over and took her hand again. "I'm scared too," he admitted. "But you make me want to stay." They sat like that for a long time. No more words. Just the sounds of summer, and the promise of something real. The call came one stormy July afternoon. Emily was grading creative writing camp submissions when her phone buzzed. "Unknown number," she answered hesitantly. "Ms. Carter," a tentative voice said. "It's me, Jasmine, from your 4th period English." Emily sat up straighter. "Jasmine, oh my gosh, how are you?" The girl's voice trembled. "I know it's summer, but I didn't know who else to call." Jasmine explained that her mom had relapsed, that she was staying with an aunt who didn't want her, that she hadn't eaten in 2 days. Emily didn't hesitate. She called Alex. 20 minutes later, they were in his car, driving across town with grocery bags and a stack of used books they didn't save. Jasmine's whole world that night, but they reminded her someone cared, and sometimes, that's everything. Later, Emily cried quietly on Alex's couch. He held her. "This is why we do what we do," he said. "And why we need each other," she whispered. By August, the town's Sunflower Festival was in full bloom. Emily had always loved the festival. Food, music, kids running barefoot in the grass. Alex hated crowds, but he went anyway. They wandered through fields of towering yellow blossoms, stopping at a booth where a student from their school was selling handmade journals. "Ms. Carter, Mr. Brennan, you two are like the teacher power couple now," Emily laughed. "We're still debating who gets to keep the classroom microwave." They bought matching sunflower pins, shared kettle corn, and danced awkwardly to a local band playing Fleetwood Mac covers. At one point, Alex pulled her toward a quieter corner. He handed her a tiny envelope. Inside was a simple handwritten card. "Let's keep writing this story together. Year 2, room 200 for Trezent is single." Her eyes stung. She didn't say a word. She just pulled him in and kissed him in the middle of a sunflower field. September returned like an old song, familiar, but somehow different. Emily stood in front of her decorated classroom, bulletin board fresh with quotes, the smell of new pencils and hand sanitizer thick in the air. Her coffee had a heart drawn on the lid, courtesy of Alex. Across the hall, he gave her a mock salute as the first period bell rang. They were back. Room 204 and 305. Carter and Brennan, the unofficial power couple of Roosevelt High. But something felt off. It started with a new student, a quiet junior named Caleb. Transferred mid-semester, smart, wary, always scribbling in a leather notebook, never raising his hand. Emily noticed how he flinched when people laughed too loud. How he sat near the door, always scanning the room like he was waiting for something to go wrong. During lunch duty, she mentioned it to Alex. He nodded. "I got him in U.S. history, writes brilliant essays, never makes eye contact. He's been through something," Emily said. "Want to team up?" Alex asked. "Intervention style," she smiled. "You had me at team up." They started small, compliments on his writing, letting him choose topics, inviting him to join a lunchtime poetry workshop. Caleb didn't respond at first, but one day he stayed after class. "Double quotes, Miss Carter," he said, voice shaky. "Do you think stories can change people?" She looked up, caught off guard, then nodded slowly. "I think stories are people," she said. "They carry who we are and who we might become." He blinked, then handed her his notebook. That night, she read every page. It was raw, personal, full of anger, grief, beauty. A story of a boy who lost his brother, a mother who shut down, a house full of silence and grief. Asterisk, she cried, and in the margins of the last page, Caleb had written, I don't want to disappear. Just as things felt steady, change arrived in an email. Alex had applied for a teaching fellowship months ago, half jokingly. It was in Boston. A 1-year position working on curriculum reform with a national think tank. He never thought he'd get it, but he did. When he told Emily, they were sitting on the bleachers after school, watching the marching band practice. Her heart sank. Not because she didn't want him to succeed, but because she knew what came next. Boston, she repeated. That's far. Just 1 year, he said quickly. 9 months. I could fly back on long weekends. You could visit during breaks. She looked at him, eyes searching. Do you want to go? He hesitated. I want to grow, but I don't want to leave this. Her voice was quiet. Then what are we? Alex sighed. I don't know. Neither of them had answers. Just the marching band playing Don't Stop Believing in the distance. 2 weeks passed, awkward silences, missed calls, late nights at school. Emily kept busy with Caleb's writing project. She helped him enter a statewide storytelling contest. His piece, The Boy at the Edge of the Classroom. One Friday afternoon, she found a letter in her mailbox in the teacher's lounge. It was from Alex. Double quotes Emily. I've never been good at choosing. I stay in safe lanes, drive in circles. But you changed my map. I don't want to grow alone. I want to grow with you. So here's what I'm asking. Come with me, Boston, 1 year. Let's write a new chapter together. If you say yes, meet me at the bus stop tomorrow at 10. If you don't, I'll stay. Either way, love you. Always A. She read it twice, then 3 times. The clock above the copier ticked too loudly. Was this her chance, or her crossroads? Saturday morning came with gray skies. Emily stood in her kitchen, suitcase half packed. Her fingers hovered over her phone. Caleb had just texted, I got into the finals. They want me to read live next month. She thought about her students, her classroom, the town that had become her home. And then, she thought about Alex, the boy with the bad puns, the kind eyes, the donut bribes. 9:56 a.m. She slipped on her shoes, grabbed her bag. 10:03 a.m. The bus stop came into view. He was standing there, hair messy, breath held. She didn't say anything, just walked straight to him. I didn't pack extra clothes, she whispered. We'll do laundry in Boston. He whispered back. He kissed her like it was the first day of school, and maybe, in a way it was. Boston was a different world. The fellowship placed Alex at an elite prep school where the hallways smelled like espresso and Latin etchings lined the marble staircases. The students wore blazers, quoted Thoreau ironically, and had parents who sat on corporate boards. Alex, the Midwestern public school teacher with a closet full of thrifted cardigans and sarcastic one-liners, felt like a fish out of filtered artisanal water, but he held his own. And Emily, she taught remotely creative writing workshops, online sessions with teachers in training, even a virtual book club with her old students from Roosevelt. The city buzzed. Coffee shops on every block. Jazz on Thursday nights. Museums where teachers got in free. They rented a walk-up apartment in Cambridge with creaky floors, a window that leaked cold air, and a fire escape where they sometimes sat and watched the city breathe. It wasn't home, but it was something. A chapter. A challenge. One evening in November, Emily got a call from Roosevelt. It was Principal Jennings. I know you're not officially with us this year, he said, but we're doing a community panel, and Caleb specifically asked for you. Her chest tightened. She hadn't heard from Caleb since she left. She assumed he'd moved on, grown out of needing her. She agreed to join the panel over Zoom. The night came. Her face filled a screen in the Roosevelt Library. Caleb sat on the end of a row of student readers, looking more confident, chin up. When it was his turn, he stepped to the mic and began reading. This is for the teachers who don't clock out when the bell rings. The ones who see ghosts in empty desks. The ones who believe in stories, even when the writers don't. He looked straight at the camera. This is for you, Miss Carter. Emily had to turn off her mic because she couldn't speak through the tears. Alex watched her from the kitchen. He poured her a glass of wine and just held her hand when she came out. "This is why you'll never stop being a teacher," he whispered. In January, Alex was offered a permanent position at the Boston Fellowship. Twice the pay, national influence. A direct pipeline to policy change. He came home with the letter and laid it on the kitchen table. "They want an answer." In 2 weeks, Emily looked at it, then looked out the window at the snow falling on city streets. "You've earned this," she said softly. He shook his head. "We've built this." She knew he meant them, but part of her wasn't sure where she fit in anymore. That night she walked alone to the Harvard bookstore, sat in the poetry aisle, and reread Frost. 2 roads diverged in a wood. She laughed bitterly. Why did choices always come in metaphors? One snowy morning, an envelope arrived. No return address. Inside was a postcard, a photo of room 204. On the back, "Still has your posters. We miss you. Love, Dead Poets Society, 2.0." Beneath that, scrawled in Caleb's handwriting, "If you ever come back, I saved your chair." Emily stared at it for a long time. They sat on the fire escape that night, wrapped in a blanket, city lights flickering below. "You should take the offer," Emily said. Alex blinked. That sounded suspiciously like a breakup line. She smiled sadly. "It's not. It's clarity. I'm going home." He didn't speak. "You love big ideas," she said. "You belong in rooms with senators and thinkers. I love messy stories in old classrooms." He took her hand. "What does that mean for us?" She exhaled. "It means we build bridges, not boxes. It means we don't end, we stretch." He kissed her hand. "Can Boston survive without your sarcasm?" She laughed through tears. "Let's find out." Her last morning in Boston, he walked her to the train station. They didn't make promises they couldn't keep. They made a plan. Summer meetups, winter breaks, phone calls, a shared Google Doc of bad puns and love notes. When the train pulled in, he whispered in her ear, "I'll find you in the margins." She boarded, he waved, the train moved, and in her lap she held a new notebook. On the first page, written in his handwriting, spring returned with daffodils and soft Midwestern rain. Emily stood once again outside room 204. Her name had been taped back onto the door. "Miss Carter." Inside, the classroom smelled like dust, dry erase markers, and something else, belonging. She'd missed the cluttered desks, the soft hum of the ceiling fan, the way light slanted across the whiteboard at 9:15. M. And the students. They welcomed her like she'd never left. Jasmine had graduated early and now worked as a part-time aide in the front office. Caleb, he was helping run a creative writing club. He stopped by every other morning with coffee and story ideas. Emily was home. One Friday afternoon, Principal Jennings asked her to come to the library. "It's for a donor event," he said vaguely. When she walked in, the lights dimmed. Students, faculty, and community members stood in a wide circle. At the center, Caleb, standing next to a covered easel. "Ms. Carter," he began, voice steady. "You taught me that stories are how we survive, so I wrote mine. And I shared it." He pulled off the cover. It was a poster of his book The Boy at the Edge of the Classroom, now published. Sponsored by a small nonprofit Alex had helped connect him with from Boston. "I dedicated it to the teacher who stayed," Caleb said. Emily didn't cry. Not right away, but she hugged him like a mother, a mentor, and a friend all at once. That weekend, a package arrived at her apartment. No return address. Inside, a manila folder, a printed manuscript, and a sticky note: "For the students who shape us. For the woman who showed me how. Coming soon." Margins by Alexander Brennan. Her heart stopped. It was his book. Essays, reflections, policy thoughts, and chapters about their classroom days. Their long-distance year, the things he learned not from experts but from her. On the last page was a dedication to Emily Carter. "The story I never saw coming." She laughed, then cried, then held the folder to her chest like it was a letter from home. 2 weeks later, the school hosted its first Roosevelt reading night, combining the creative writing showcase with a community potluck. Emily didn't expect Alex to show up, but he did, wearing a suit jacket with his sleeves rolled, holding 2 tubs of chili and a grin so familiar it nearly buckled her knees. You didn't really think I'd miss your return performance, did you? That night, under fairy lights strung across the library ceiling, they co-hosted the event, treating student pieces, making terrible puns, cheering louder than anyone. When the crowd thinned, he pulled her aside. I got offered a remote role with the fellowship, he said. Less travel, more flexibility. She blinked. Here with you, if you'll have me. She didn't answer, she kissed him. Life didn't settle after that, because it never really does. Some students passed, some struggled, some surprised them all. Emily and Alex co-taught a new elective together, story and self, the power of narrative. They adopted a one-eyed rescue cat named Hemingway. They wrote on weekends. They laughed during lunch duty. They built a life not perfect but intentional. And one morning, Emily stood at the front of the class and said, "Every story starts with a choice. You don't have to know the ending yet, but you have to pick up the pen." In the back row, Caleb smiled. In the front, Alex held up a donut, and in the middle 23 students, pencils poised, ready to begin. Epilogue. For you two, the ones who teach with love. To the students who write their way forward. To the quiet romances that bloom between lesson plans and locker bells. This one was for you. Love this story. If it made you feel something, hope, warmth, even just a smile, consider supporting the channel, like, comment with your favorite chapter, and hit subscribe so you never miss the next tale of life, love, and learning. Drop a emoji in the comments if you believe teachers change lives. See you in the next story.